Hello, and welcome to part 3 of An Idiot Explains the Universe. Today, I would like to take an in-depth look at the fine structure constant, a number that disregards all logic. Before I do that, I'd like to lay the groundwork. In my last episode, I hinted on the universe being a simulation. And this is a valid hypothesis with many notable scientists giving it serious considerations. The reason why they take it seriously is due in part to us not having a unified theory of everything. In simple terms, the mathematics that we use in everyday life work very well with general relativity. Even objects as small as atoms or even an atom's nucleus can be calculated with Einstein's equations. However, general relativity fails to explain quantum effects. Quantum effects are noticeable wherever there is an extreme energy density, like around the event horizon of a black hole or a singularity. And in this case, even massive objects can obscure into quantum effects, causing general relativity to become irrelevant. Most people believe that quantum mechanics only affects imperceptible objects, but black holes disproves this theory. Quantum mechanics can affect all matter equally, big or small, given enough energy. If general relativity were to be true as fact and not just in theory, it would imply that space and time are continuous. And what this means is that not only is the universe infinite in size, but also infinite in depth. The reason why it must be continuous in order to work is because, according to Einstein, space-time must be treated as a smooth, continuous fabric that responds to the presence of massive objects. And this fabric can bend, stretch, or curve very easily. A continuous sheet of fabric can wrap all around the nooks and crannies of a floating globe, but quantized chunks of pixels cannot. The equations of general relativity would encounter fundamental problems if space-time were not continuous. And now that that's explained, let's talk about the continuous depth of the universe. Right now, the Planck length is considered a barrier of sorts. It's the smallest unit of measurement, the smallest amount of time and space that a unit of energy can feasibly be exchanged. However, general relativity suggests that more space exists beyond this barrier, even though time and space break down into the quantum realm, rendering general relativity useless. Because of this, space-time cannot be continuous. If space-time itself no longer exists below the Planck length, then what replaces it? Think about my very first episode, episode 1, where I talk about space, time, and energy. If you take away just one of those components, the whole system crashes. And when that happens, guess what? Nothing exists. Time can't exist without entropy. Energy can't exist without time, and time can't exist without space. And space can't exist on its own. It needs energy to define and structure it, and it does that in the form of dimensions. With that said, what then is below the Planck scale? I would like to take a moment for us to marinate on that question. Just let it sit there and stew. Space-time breaks down below the Planck scale. There's no space. There's no time. There's no energy. There's only pure possibilities. I would like to propose a question while we sit and stew together. If we shrink ourselves down to below the Planck scale, would we also be going back in time to before the Big Bang? Back to when dimensions didn't exist? A place of everything and nothing? And could the emergence of space-time be an unfolding of these infinite possibilities? Whenever I feel like altering my mind without the use of hallucinogens, all I have to do is think about the time before the Big Bang. There was nothing. Can you imagine there being nothing? No universe anywhere? There would be nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nothing. Thinking about this is a sure way to trigger an altered state, especially while suffering from exhaustion. It's good, clean fun. You should try it, but not while operating heavy machinery. Below the Planck length, I believe quantum mechanics and general relativity become a hybrid. They are both correct, in my humble opinion, although there is a barrier, a ground zero, which we know as the Planck length. I do believe that there is more in existence beyond this barrier, as general relativity suggests. It's just not in any form that we can visualize. It's outside our imaginative realm. There is a fundamental law of the universe that requires information to be conserved. What this implies is that information, just as it is with energy, can never be destroyed. The greatest minds call it a fundamental law because it does not contradict experimental observation or established principles. In fact, the law of conservation is so irrefutable that it is used in quantum mechanics, general relativity, and thermodynamics. The only paradox that comes even close to disproving this law are black holes and their ability at destroying all that falls into them. Why is this law of conservation so important? It's because of a little thing called unitarity. Unitarity implies that if you know the exact quantum state of a system at one moment, you can evolve it backward or forward in time without ambiguity. This law is critical. If any information is lost, the probabilities would stop adding up to 1. Matter would behave unpredictably. Entropy or time could reverse or fragment. Entire regions of the universe could disappear. Macroscopic matter can act as quantum objects, involving superpositions or undefined states. And with the new discovery of negative time, we can witness photons interacting with a cloud of ultra-cold rubidium atoms in such a way that they appear to exit the medium before entering it. If information about these photons were lost, this phenomena could not happen. I don't want to get into negative time as proof of time travel. It's far from it. But this experiment, according to me, is just another proof that information never dies, not even for a photon that is suspended in a superimposed entangled state. So, if matter falls into a black hole and all its information is lost, the law of conservation fails. But it can't fail. It literally can't. Our entire existence depends on information never being lost. As a workaround to this paradox, it's been decided by the majority of scientists that the information from matter is stored on the two-dimensional membrane, which is known as the event horizon of a black hole. This supposed information is not energy. It's not matter. Then what is it? Modern physics, along with black hole thermodynamics, agree that information doesn't have to consist of energy or matter. So what the hell is it? Is it the same stuff that is found below the Planck length? The stuff that the singularity is made from? My own personal theory is that information, when not carried by energy or matter, is instead stored inside time itself. I believe it is stored in time itself on the event horizon for the fact that from our perspective, time appears to freeze at the event horizon of a black hole. Information is captured like a snapshot of the past, forever imprinted into the fabric of space. The black hole can dissipate as predicted without the information surrounding it never falling inside. Information can scatter and dissipate along with the black hole without any information ever being lost. It is stored as entropy. The new discovery of quantum scarring can possibly shed light onto this theory. It could serve as proof that information can become embedded into its point of origin. And there is also another theory suggesting that dark energy, that stuff that we know is there, but we have no idea what it is or where it comes from, some believe that dark energy is in fact time, but it's seen from our perspective of billions of light years away. I won't go into detail about this particular theory, but it may be proof that my theory of time holding on to information might be a real concept, although it's theorized by me, a massage therapist who never went to college. Anyway, with this knowledge, I find it hard to believe that our consciousness disappears after death. The law, irrefutable I might add, of unitarity proves that information never dies. If our thoughts and egos are not considered information, then what is? Think about it. A mass of a particle, its spin, charge, trajectory, internal properties such as wavelength details. Literally everything about one particle is saved for eternity. Just because we are more complex than a single particle should not exclude us from this law. Everything must be saved as is and intact for the mere purpose of being able to reverse everything, because for whatever reason, unbeknownst to us, the universe must be able to reverse time, and it could only do that if all its parts are still in existence, including us. Our consciousness is a blueprint, a snapshot of the past, preserved in time as a quantum scar, an entropic entity that once had a name. We are part of the universe's parts. When I say that information is stored in time itself surrounding a black hole, I believe that entropy represents time. Information from the past is stored as entropy, which is something that we can all witness with our own eyes. Us aging, flowers blooming, mold growing, rot festering, particles losing their mass to create more life elsewhere, babies being born, fruit ripening, the sun literally feeding us, are all examples of entropy taking place in the real world, all of which is stored in time. And remember, time freezes depending on your perspective. Billions of light years away, aliens are watching dinosaurs roam our Earth at this very moment. Time is only perspective. In black hole thermodynamics, the entropy of a black hole is proportional to the surface area of its event horizon, which means the more stuff that got sucked into the black hole, the more information surrounds it, the larger its event horizon. It's as though the event horizon is a book cover to the black hole, telling us a story of how it came to be. What does all this have to do with the fine structure constant? I don't know. I've gotten sidetracked and I've forgotten how they link together. Let me try to remember. Oh yes, I do remember. I wanted to give you a little background first. I wanted you to see that below the Planck scale, only one of three things are possible. That space-time is continuous, as stated in general relativity, or that it is quantized, as quantum mechanics believes it to be, or that it is a hybrid of the two, which is something I personally believe. Space-time ceases to exist beyond the Planck barrier, and it is replaced with something beyond our imagination and comprehension. Please remember that all of this is taking place inside us and all around us. Beyond every pixel of information exists a complexity so vast and infinite that it cannot stop emerging and unfolding in front of our very eyes, and it's being done by perception and decoherence. I asked ChatGPT what the most likely scenario is. What lies beneath the Planck scale? According to Chat, it believes that below the Planck scale is most likely and more logically quantized bits of information. Anything below those quantized bits of information is unknowable, is dimensionless, it consists of nothing and everything. ChatGPT was the one who suggested that this nothingness and everythingness is actively unfolding itself into our four-dimensional space. All that could exist will exist during this great unfolding. I personally believe that beyond the Planck scale, the singularity still resides as an infinite void. This void, depending on your perspective, is either filled with infinite potential or infinite darkness and nothingness. The reason why I believe this is because I myself have experienced this void. It can only be understood on an emotional level and not intellectual. I have encountered this void 3 times in my life, each time only glimpses, no more than 2 seconds at a time, but in those 2 seconds I learned of its existence and how our perspective can shape it. This great unfolding of the singularity can only happen with the help of perception. Please watch part 2 of my series to understand how perception works. Perception cannot work without time, time cannot exist without space, and so on. So there must be an underlying code set in place in order for space-time to emerge from the chaos that is below the Planck scale. Just as quantum computers can only operate with auto-correcting codes, the same is true for space-time and matter. I believe that this code created itself through trial and error until it got it right, and we are one universe out of many that came before it, and we won't be the last. Below the Planck scale, from what I can tell, is the underlying code of the universe, just out of reach from our prying eyes. The law of conservatism and the fine structure constant are all but 2 of these hidden laws. This episode is a primer into understanding the fine structure constant. I want you to get a feel for it. Understand that it's an underlying code of the universe, untouchable and unknowable from our perspective. In my next episode, I would like to link the fine structure constant with consciousness. I'll continue using science to form these links. My overall goal is to figure out what the hell is going on and why we're here. I'll see all of you quantum quackers next time. Stay open and amazed.